And welcome back to the Model Works here in the Music City, and to the final update and reveal of the 41 Willys for Big Boss Jim's remembrance build, tribute build, whichever you prefer. It's done. I want to touch on a couple of things before I show it to you. It came out great. The paint came out, I thought, just gorgeous. It's a beautiful color. It's the Tester's two-step, Model Master two-step lacquer, dark cherry pearl, with Tester's Wet Look Clear and Future. About a total of about 5 coats of clear when all said and done. A couple of coats of the Tester's Model Master two-step first, after I got it completed while I was handling the car for the trim pieces, and then after I got that done, I went back over it with a couple of coats of Future, and then put that up and let that dry. And right before I took my final pictures for the slideshow part of this video, I put another coat on and let it sit for a couple of hours. So it's got quite a bit of clear on it, but that's the way I want it. So it's well sealed and well protected. Not a lot to say about this kit. It did real well. No fitment issues that I can think of right off the top of my head. As I was chit-chatting with Chris, Classic Plastic, a day or so ago, I told him this is probably one of my favorite builds I've done. And not because I did anything, a lot of drastic stuff to it, because I didn't. Modifications wise, the only thing I did was I took a couple of rounds of spring out of the rear coilovers just to get it to sit a little bit lower. And on the front suspension, I cut the top of the spindle mounts off and made my own out of some real thin styrene sheet. It sat just a little bit nose high. There was a fairly good sized gap between the top of the tire and the bottom of the front fender well. So, but I didn't want the front tire way up in the fender well. I didn't want it looking like a modern looking Pro Street would look, or like most of the Pro Streets that are done. It just didn't, to me, it just didn't look natural on this body style. I don't know if natural is the right word, but it certainly didn't look like I liked it. So I didn't drop it down low in the front. I wanted it kind of squatty looking, like it was going to spring on somebody, and I think I achieved that with that light modification to the front end. Other than that, you've seen the interior. It's Delta Ceramic Coat, black cherry for the dash, the inner shell, the console, the seats, the door panels, and the rest of the floor is Delta Ceramic Coat Drizzle Gray. I do have some fingernail foil strips for the seat accents. Everything else is a mixture of folk art, Delta Ceramic Coat. I use some Tamiya flat aluminum on some of the chassis parts. Everything else is now all the chrome parts except for the wheels and the trim on the outside of the car have been dull coated with Tester's dull coat, and I think that just looks so much better than a whole lot of chrome. I mean, some of it looks good, but especially on a hot rod that's not going to be a quote-unquote show car, I think it looks, the polished aluminum look, or the brush stainless, whatever you want to call it. I like the way that looks a whole lot better. And you can play on that look with some washes and what have you that you couldn't do with chrome. You can actually put washes on the dull coat if you don't overload it too much and start to take the lacquer off. If you use a light wash, you can get away with it. So that's another reason why I do that. It's got some aftermarket stuff on it from Extreme Scale Detail Chip Chevy Cheeseburger. I've got a couple of air cleaners from him and some fittings for the plumbing on the fuel lines to the carburetor. So the carburetors that are on it came from the 66 Nova Pro Street. I didn't like the ones that came with the kit. I had some Holly 750s from him as well that were a little bit big and out of scale for this size motor. So that's pretty much it. I guess the other reason why I think it's one of my favorite builds is I built it for Jim, in remembrance of Jim. Such a nice guy, such a class act. And I was trying to think of a name for this car for the build. And since Jim was such a class guy and everything, and this car is kind of a giddy up and go car, I'm going to call this one Haulin Class. So for your consideration, this is the Big Boss Jim tribute build, 41 Willys Pro Street, Haulin Class. Hope you like it. Check you later.